Welcome to Grit, the Real Estate Growth Mindset podcast, hosted by Brian Charlesworth, founder of Sisu. Sisu provides growth automation software for real estate. You'll hear stories from real estate thought and technology leaders, team owners, and brokers on how they grew their business in a rapidly changing industry. You'll learn how to transform your brokerage and teams into a high-performing and analytics-driven business so you have a new, durable, competitive advantage against disruption in your market. So let's get right into it.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grit podcast. I'm Brian Charlesworth. I'm the founder of Sisu and your host of the show. And super excited to have Jake Rockwell on the Grit podcast with us today. Jake is the owner of the Rockwell Group at EXP, and Jake has a great story. I've known Jake now for, I want to say about 3 years, probably in that range.
Yeah, maybe even a little longer when we kind of first connected, but yeah.
Maybe 4 years. So anyway, and I think you've been at EXP that entire time. So you were one of the early people to go over to EXP, or fairly early.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, Jake has a great story. I'm not going to go over his whole bio with this intro because I want you guys to hear this from Jake. So here we are, Christmas week. And, I jump in this podcast with Jake and he's just wrapping up a team meeting. So here we are. I can tell you these guys are not taking vacation. They're in the middle of a sales contest. And so I think that's awesome. So before we dive into your business, though, Jake, I really want to go into your background today. So you in your 30s, I know early 30s, maybe you were 30, you had a software company, you had an e-commerce company. E-commerce was big at the time, right? That's when e-commerce was just taking off. You built this company, you sold it. I don't know how many millions you had, but then, somehow over a 5, 6, 7 year period, you lost it all. So tell us about that story.
Yeah, I growing up, I'd always been kind of an entrepreneur and wanted to, I told my mom that I was going to be a millionaire and all that. And so, yeah, I started an e-commerce company selling, products, pet products and billiards products, 2 different websites. Started those in 2004, saw a friend that was being successful online and I jumped in, started, selling on eBay and all that. Anyway, had built them up to be the billiards company, to be one of the top billiards online retailers in the country, and sold both of those in 2007, right before the crash. And yeah, made, sold for a couple million and was kind of high on the hog. And the next 5 years, I had invested in a buy here, pay here car business that was doing really well, high interest, loans, kind of a negative business. But the problem was I had my priorities wrong. I was still living the life of a bar owner, a 21-year-old, and because I had owned a brewery prior to the e-commerce company, and just was living a lifestyle that wasn't healthy and generated a lot of bad decisions. And so just blowing through cash, and though it was the business that I had at that time was doing well, it was burning, because of lifestyle. So financially crashed. And
so you sold this business. What did you do after you sold the business? Were you just kind of playing for a few years, or were you actually working, or what were you doing?
No, I started a car business. A friend of mine was in the car, buy here, pay here car business.
Oh, that you were in that business at this time. Okay.
Yeah, high risk loans. So we would buy cars, sell them at, high interest loans. And so I took that money and was putting it on the books at a high interest, and it was doing really well. It's just the problem is me and that partner we were partying, really. I mean, it just was nothing, no way to sugarcoat it. Just making bad decisions. And we ran that for about 5 or 6 years. And as it slowly unraveled, I was kind of getting down to the last of the money that I had, and found someone to take that business over right about the same time I was getting my real estate license. I saw a friend of mine that was successful in real estate. He was cashing some big checks. And I was like, I've always wanted to get into real estate for the investing side. I had bought my first house when I was 23. And so I got my real estate license and jumped in. And at that point, I was like, well, there's obviously a high failure rate to it.
What year was this?
This was 2013, right when I had crashed, and got the license and made the decision that I was going all in, because I wanted to make sure that if I was gonna I wanted to make sure that I gave myself the best opportunity to make it. If it didn't work, it didn't work, but I'll know that I at least tried and gave it my all. Went into the office every day, making calls, lead generating and so forth. And, that was 9.5 years ago. And finally, about 6 months in, the momentum ball, started, and sold 36 homes my first year. And then, it went from there. But it was an interesting time, back then. And hindsight's obviously helps determine what happened, what caused, even the successes. I've had, successful businesses in the past. And during building those, you don't quite know what it's going to take to get them to where they are. But once you've already built them, you can very easily look back and pinpoint things that truly were the reason those businesses succeeded. I mean, for all that, I had a brewery that was grossing $5,000 a month in sales, which most places do in an evening, right? And to be able to make that company work with $8,000 in my pocket, we realized what caused that, and built that business up and sold it before the internet stuff. So.
Yeah, so I think you said something here that is super valuable. I mean, when you've had these experiences, I look back even on some of the stuff I'm doing today, and with some of the tech companies I built in the past, definitely learning lessons and being able to avoid pitfalls and mistakes that I made back then. But I would also say surrounding yourself with the right people and having mentors who have also been down that road and built that can make sure to help get you there faster, quicker, without having to make the same mistakes that somebody else has made a dozen times, right? So
absolutely.
So you sold 36 homes your first year. So you come into real estate and made some money. I have no idea what your price point was, but you made a fair amount of money at 36 homes. And so you decide, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, you're going to build a team. Is that kind of what happened here?
Yeah, well, I sold 36 homes my first year, but it was 80 hours a week. I went home, told my wife, I was like, you know what? I don't care how much money it is. It's not worth it. I don't want, I had just come out of owning my own businesses where I had staff and employees. And so I didn't have, I've told people that I've worked more hours as a real estate agent than I did in anything else I did.
To be a high producing agent, I know a lot of people sell 50 homes a year, and they're working a lot, right? They're constantly weekends, nights. I mean, they're always answering their cell phones. It's just the lifestyle, right?
Yeah. And it was really building the team was out of a necessity, where you get a lot of people that coming into the industry that are jumping into the industry to build a team. And I kind of old school way. I brought on an assistant / buyer's agent, and it just snowballed from there. And every year we grew and grew, and about 3 years in, had about 10 agents, and we ended up leaving that brokerage and opening up our own brokerage. And it just snowballed, and it was always ran as a team, and you learn a lot. I did a lot of research on teams, and obviously there's a lot of different ways to run a successful team with structure and commission splits and leads and all that kind of stuff. And we've just kind of evolved over the years to try to really make each section of a team good.
So what are some of the best decisions you feel you've made as a team owner? What are some of the things that set your team apart?
We're in a small area. So when it comes to the market and so forth, I was able to really catapult early on to being kind of the top agent. And, we use marketing for a lot of that. But without getting into brokerage specific, making the move into our own brokerage and then making the move to our existing brokerage was a huge turning point for our company. And getting myself out of the production to where now our main team focus is, from a team standpoint, is to help agents get everything they want.
Yeah.
not just in production, but in life in general. And so our main focus when we have management meetings is like, how do we make our agents better? How do we get them to where they want to be, whether it's 10 houses a year, 100 houses a year, whatever. And so that's just, it's nice to be able to have that clarity and that focus, that's what our focus is as a team leader and a management team.
Okay. So you guys have around 60 agents doing around 500 homes a year. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of the growth, about a third of that growth came over the last year. Something happened, and the culture in our team is just extremely strong, and so that has now spread. We don't do heavy recruiting, even though we're with EXP locally for our team. It's just been natural people lining up to be a part of our team, and some new expansion areas have opened up, partnering with some people in other areas. So a lot of that growth team-wise was in the last year. And so now we're gearing up to really see the production side, because it takes a little while to get, agents off the ground. A lot of our growth is from newer agents.
Yeah, there are a lot of teams I know that prefer to recruit new agents over experienced agents so that you can train them to work in your culture, right? So you had this shift, though, that happened this year. Like, what was it? Like, why are these agents now attracted to your business? Why do they want to be a part of your team?
Just, I think that the culture that we've created, I mean, I've always talked about, I do a lot of talks and training on team building and so forth. And culture is an important piece to that pie. And I mean, I call it the glue that keeps the team together. And we have so many excited agents on our team that they're spreading that energy out. And I mean, we have agents from other companies telling people to come talk to us about, when they're getting into real estate, to come join our team. I think part of it is because we have a really good onboarding and training program. We really work to help those agents get off the ground and get their first deal in escrow. And that's part why we like new agents, is because we set the right expectation up front. We let them know what the real estate agent life looks like, not the social media life, of all the fun things that we do, but the work that it takes. There's no magic bullet. It's just, you get down to business, and there's a path to success. But it just, that culture has generated the attraction of people to want to join our team.
Okay, so you are now, I think you've expanded into 5 markets. You've been focusing on your technology, focusing on automating your business as much as possible. Well, let's talk first about what are the key systems you guys use? What is making a difference for your business there? And then let's talk about these expansion markets, because I'm seeing there's so many teams now that are moving into expansion markets. We have some customers that have 50 plus expansion markets, which is, huge, right? So.
Yeah, and technology becomes more and more important for that. We're actually in the middle of a pretty big shift technology-wise. Over the last 9 years, we've had this really strong momentum and growth. And over the last 2.5 years, and especially this year, obviously with the little shifting market, I've been waiting to kind of see where the cracks are in our process and our business. And we're starting to see that. And now I'm diving all in and really making some big changes to the way we operate, the systems and the tech that we use. So we're in the middle of changing CRMs right now. We've been using Sisu. If this window wasn't frosted, you'd see our screen just like yours in the background, rotating, stats of our team and so forth. So we're using Sisu. We're now moving to Follow Up Boss from another CRM, and we use Real Geeks for our website. We may add to that. We may keep that, but add some other website front end stuff. And SkySlope, which is part of our brokerage, and what else do we use tech wise?
So you mentioned something about finding things that are falling through the cracks. You've discovered things this year. What are the things that you've discovered that may have been weaknesses that you're turning into strengths?
Most of it revolves around leads, lead flow, lead generation, nurturing. I believe that the amount of business we did over the last couple of years probably could be close to double what it was. And mainly because of the we bring in a lot of leads, and the front end's pretty good. We got the 10 days of pain. We use, we're using third-party ISA for that. We're going to be integrating more in-house ISA team to really be the pillar of our company. But the other 90% of those leads, we're not getting the right messages. So there's just a lot falling through the cracks into the hands of other real estate agents, our competitors and so forth. And so we're fixing that, really implementing a better long-term nurturing, messaging, branding. We're diving more back in the community, bringing in ISAs to help and technology to bring those opportunities to the surface more and capitalize on that. And obviously get our agents, back to basics on routine and time blocking and scheduling.
Yeah. So with 60 agents, how many ISAs do you have today, or is this something you're just starting?
It's new. We used to have an ISA model back in the day. Our agents loved it, but that was when we had 10 agents. And so we have a third-party ISA company, and I've got another 2 people that work partially as ISAs. One is part-time, and one is one of our main salespersons that used to be our head ISA back early years, really good at converting, over the phone, setting up appointments, and that's what we'll get to. But that's a transition that'll take, 6 months to a year to really dial that in.
Okay. Well, as you get down that road, and Sisu, we focused in about 2 years ago on really providing in-depth reporting for ISAs. So I'm happy to spend some time with you, sharing with you how you can leverage that.
Yeah, we were just looking at that actually a week or 2 ago. John, our onboarding trainer, had brought that to us, and so we've been looking at that. So,
well, if there's anything I can do to help there, let me know. So
Absolutely.
you've now said, hey, we're going to expand. We're going to do these expansion markets. So if you're going to do an expansion market, I think you have 5 now, right?
Yeah, we're in Southern Oregon. We're up in Northern Oregon, Salem, Eugene, Portland area. And then we're in Phoenix, Arizona. We just launched Vegas and a couple areas in Tennessee, and then Denver will be after the first of the year. But we were in Hawaii. Our Hawaii person, Rockstar, actually went back home, which is Tennessee, and so we kind of had to make that shift. So we didn't really have someone and we've done expansion areas over the years, and we haven't had a lot of success with them. And a lot of it came down to having the right person and having that person in place that really, has the grit, the willingness to really, go after it. And so we're finally starting to see some success up in Salem. We've got a rock star up there. I think we're 3 or 4 agents in Salem, Oregon. And I'm super excited. In fact, yesterday we got our first deal in escrow down in Vegas, which is exciting for our agent down there. And yeah, expansion area. I mean, it just opens up the doors. We're in a small market in Southern Oregon, so the room for growth, it will ultimately be limited. I mean, we've got 1,500 agents, and we're in a 200,000 person market.
Yeah.
And so expansion is I think teams and expansion teams are really a big part of the future of the industry.
So how have you gone about finding the right expansion partner? Because I agree with you, that is the most important thing. It's more important than where you go, is who you're working with. So how do you find that right person?
Well, we haven't been out looking, to be honest. They just happen to be found. Somehow we get connected, like Mike, who was in Hawaii and now Tennessee. I think I posted something on Facebook. He had reached out for some coaching or some help with something, and we stayed in touch. I could tell that he had it early on. I tried to bring him on, a year prior, and then finally he had reached out. And again, we're not out searching for new locations right now. It's just when we know, and it's finding the right person that has that work ethic, has the drive to build something special and be a part of a larger organization to help each other achieve, what they want to achieve. So.
Yeah. It's also, there's a lot of leverage that you can bring as a team owner where you already have all the systems in place. You have a team in place that they can leverage. and just a lot of knowledge and expenses. I mean, you can reduce their expenses tremendously by doing that. So I've seen a lot of value in that. And I think it's a path that teams should take as they succeed in their own markets.
Yeah, and we're working on some of the different systems with, launching a new team. We've got a person on our team that is our expansion director. So he's working with those team leaders. He's working on processes to improve, when we launch a new area. Not that we're going to go out and launch 10 new areas. I really want to stay focused on making sure those locations, become successful and help them, do what they're doing. But it's a constant change. And I remind my team that, when they get upset about change, like changing a CRM, I said, the bad news is we're changing. The good news is we're always going to be changing. That's not ever going to change. It's just what we're doing.
So you guys you've had a lot of success attracting people who want to take on new markets. You've had a lot of success attracting agents. I don't know if we ever really, if you ever really share, you're not actively recruiting agents. So what is it that makes these agents attracted to your team?
If you've been enjoying Grit, please help us continue to grow the channel by leaving a 5-star review and sharing it with a friend. Now back to Grit.
Well, and I'll kind of back up a little bit. Now, obviously, we're with EXP, so there is a recruiting attraction aspect to that company,
but not necessarily attracting to the team, right? I mean, we have agents within our group that are actively having conversations with other agents, and we do it a little bit differently than regular recruiting. We're really trying to help people, get to where they want, and if it makes sense, then it makes sense. But locally, it becomes a word of mouth thing. I think that the word has gotten out in our area anyway, that they want to be, and when they hear about an agent's experience that's already on our team, they want to be a part of that. And so, I mean, there was a point last year, I felt like we were interviewing 2 or 3 agents a week that are just, showing up. But a lot of times those are coming from agents that are in our group already. Hey, I've got a friend getting licensed. They really want to be a part of our team and so forth. Yeah, that's a great way to recruit. All right. So one of the things you've always had an interest in real estate. You bought your first house at 23 years old. Yeah. One of the things you've done is you've gone out and built an investment company. I believe you have 65 doors now. Is that right?
Yeah. I started, I obviously had to rebuild after crashing and back in 23, when I was 23, I bought my first house. I guess it wasn't right out of college, or maybe it was shortly after college, but it was an owner carry deal in the classified ads of the paper, back when they printed those. And I pulled a $5,000 cash advance off of a credit card for the down payment and did an owner carry. It had a little ADU in the back, rented it out and rented all the rooms out. This old little house, near downtown in our area. And that was the first property that we bought, or that I bought. And then, now it's I'm really big on the investing side, creating that passive bucket for long-term retirement and growth. And so, I do a lot of multifamily. I do have one short-term rental down in Arizona, but multifamily is kind of what we're into. And then on the side of that, I'm partners with 2 other guys in a small syndication company where we'll find projects and bring investors in.
Okay, so if I'm a team owner out there, which most of our listeners, I think, own real estate teams or brokerages. So if I own a real estate team or brokerage, or if I'm an agent, what do I do to find those properties? If I haven't bought a property, what are the actions? What are the steps I have to take to actually go find some of these properties to buy?
Well, yeah, I think for me, it's just always making sure I saw every new listing coming in. And nowadays it's hard to get a great deal that pencils. Early on, when I was buying rental properties, I didn't analyze them the same way I do now. I really look at my cash on cash return. And, it's just really looking for, you kind of have to also think outside the box. Like you see a property and okay, on the surface, it may not look like a great opportunity, but then can you add another unit? Can you break it up? Is there something special about it that you can do? And but yeah, shoot. I mean, the first step is you got to look at the hot sheet. You got to look at everything that's coming on the market. And really, my path of getting into real estate was not to become an awesome real estate agent. It was just a path to create revenue to put into my freedom buckets, into investing in real estate. I wanted to be closer to the action. And so, having lots of conversations, letting people know that you're investing, but really looking for those opportunities when they come up, and being quick enough to.
Do you have a team, or do you have a few agents that that you market to potential investment opportunities, and they go out and their first goal is to get the investment, not to get the listings, but the last goal is to get the listing? Do you have that type of model you run, or not so much?
No, I don't. I do. I know people that do in our market. A friend of mine does that. No, we just, we obviously, I'm also working with investors as clients. I have a few of my own. Obviously, I don't necessarily do the work on there, but they reach out when they want to invest, and I don't compete with them. So if they're looking at a property, most of the stuff that I'm buying myself ends up becoming more off market stuff, and just different scenarios that come up and so forth. But
yeah. All right. So I think we've heard a lot about your story. I want to hear your take on the market. I think you guys are about the same as what you did in 2021 with COVID. 2020 and 2021 became inflated very quickly. And so that's good, just being there. I know some teams that have grown their business substantially. I know others who have gone down. So being where you were at in 2021, great year. Congratulations on that. Now, where's the market going? What are you guys doing to make sure you keep that growing?
No, obviously breaking even or doing the same as last year is fine, but it's not at all what I vision for. I want to see growth every year, and moving forward, it's really it's going to be more work. It's going to be more. So most of, as I mentioned earlier, most of our agents came in as new agents, and they all came in the last 3 or 4 years. So they were not used to a certain way of doing business. And so being that the market's shifted and volume is down, number of sales are down. I see that continuing throughout next year. I think there's some economic factors that are gonna, keep things to a minimum, but it's still a piece of pie. There's still homes being sold. There's still properties being bought and sold, and it's a matter of how do we take more of take a larger piece of that. And it's really comes down to outworking the competition and getting in front of people well before they're looking to buy or sell, and a lot more follow-up, more consistent actions.
So a lot of these agents that you've recruited over the last couple of years to get to 60 agents, they've just had leads given to them that closed within a week, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of them don't know what follow-up is. I remember my first listing when I got into real estate. I actually had my first listing for a year. Different market, right? I think that was 8 years ago. So anyway, a lot of these I've seen some of these new agents, because I'm very close to my wife's business. Some of these new agents get super stressed about their listing not selling in its first week, right?
Yeah.
And it's a totally different market now. So moving from listings to buyers, you're just talking about it's a lot of work, and I agree with you. And they are going to have to work harder. How do you instill that in them? What are you guys doing to actually get them to be excited about working harder to go make the same money, or if they're brand new, to go make more money than they've ever made before?
Survive. And the option is you're either working for yourself or you're working for someone else. And so, I'd rather, not punch a clock. And so it's really, we're using Sisu even for some of that. Our contest right now is buyer consultation. So we're really focusing on getting appointments. One of the big changes we're trying to do in our company with the ISA part is we want to take more control of of the leads and the business that we're generating, and try to remove parts of the funnel. The top part, the prospecting follow-up for the agents, that'll obviously take some time. That way, as a company, we'll be able to have a lot more consistency, and it'll create a lot more opportunities for the agents. But on their end, it's a matter, I think what we will be implementing this year is really putting together a dedicated come into the office or jump on Zoom lead generation blocks for people to, as a group, and I'm going to get involved because I need to be talking to, just my sphere of influence and just in general. And so we're going to be doing a lot more of that just to get people in the habit of being consistent. And I think shifting to the new CRM will help a lot too.
Yeah. Okay. So you talked about the sales contest, but you blew over it pretty quickly. So you have a buyer consult contest. Describe this to me. Describe what is the reward? Like, what do they win? What is the competition? Is it half your team against the other half of the team? How have you structured this? Share more, because I think my personal opinion, I'm very biased towards gamification, but I think every team should run a sales contest every month. And I don't think it should be longer than a month because you can't keep their attention span that long, but you have to run a sales contest every month. So I want to hear about the details of your sales contest, if you could, Jake.
Yeah, we're running them a little bit longer than a month. We do, I think, maybe 8 weeks, and we generally have a couple different things that are involved that get them points. And this one is buyer consultation appointments. So you get a certain amount of points for buyer consultation because we're really pushing to get appointments. We know that if we get face-to-face with people, we're going to have a lot more success. And then the other item that goes with this contest is the number of days tracked in a row, because tracking is key. And that's
a good one.
We've got, 50, 60 people, and it's a matter of, the amount of tracking that's happening is growing. And something really cool happened last year when we're looking at our numbers for our goal setting. We have good numbers, as good as what we got in, but we have numbers on conversion rates, like conversation to appointment to client. And that's helped us produce our goals for next year on, reverse engineering those goals and telling our agents, hey, if you want to do this, this is what you have to do, right? And so we're pushing tracking, getting more and more people tracking. And so, that contest happens over the course of, I think, either 8 to 12 weeks, and it's about to end here in 2 weeks. And we have first, second, third. I think they get like a iPad or iWatch or an Apple Watch or whatever, and prizes like that. So, and we talk about it every week in our team meetings about where people are.
Okay, so you guys did this. The market slowed. You create this contest to have people prospect, or was it prospect or track daily?
Track daily and appointments set for buyer consultations.
Okay, so they're tracking daily. By tracking daily, how many points do they get?
I don't remember. I don't know that. That's someone else that set that up.
Someone else set up the contest. Okay. All right. Do you know what kind of increase you've had from before running the contest to running the contest? Has it increased the number of appointments that buyer consult appointments you guys have gotten?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know exactly how many it's increased, but in all honesty, we just starting, and this sounds bad. I don't know how we got to 500 transactions, but we just started really focusing. I did it early on as an agent to bring someone in the office. Let's look at the map. Let's look at MLS listings. Let's get a plan together for their buying journey. And our agents, we strayed away from that a while back, and now we're really jumping back into making that a point. Hey, we find that our clients have the best experience if we take 15, 20 minutes and really look at your situation and figure out and develop a plan to help you accomplish what you're trying to, accomplish. And so we're just trying to get people to even if it's a showing in a driveway buyer consultation or a Zoom, if it has to be, but it's getting our agents' mindset shifted to, hey, we know that if we get in front of them, we have better opportunity.
Well, I love what you're doing. I mean, you just said, hey, I don't know how we sold 500 houses when we haven't been doing this, but the reality is everybody got lazy because you could get lazy, right? I mean, you could have success no matter what you did the last 2 years in real estate. So now you guys are honing in on the skills, which I want to emphasize this because the skills and the hard work and the grit, like that is what it's going to take for the people to come out on top today and not only gain business today, but if you're training your agents to be experts and to be elevating their skill set, you are going to take massive market share as the market starts to come back over the next year, 2 years. So I have an opinion of how long it's going to take the market to come back. I'd like to hear your opinion.
It's some of it's hard to say because there's so many external factors outside of the housing market. But I mean, I don't see things to really starting to jump back up until maybe late 23, 24, somewhere in there. I think for investors, there'll be some opportunities that come up over the next year. But for the overall market, for the Rockwell market, I want growth. I want to see 700-800 transactions over the next year, but that'll just from work. But I think later in 2023, again, depending on the big stuff that's going on in the world, and just there's a lot of other factors I think that could play a role in the housing market too.
So I love your attitude, and not all have this. So again, this goes along with grit, right? But a slowing market doesn't mean that your market needs to slow, right? So that's something that's controllable based on the activities you do, based on the planning you do, based on the skill set trainings you do, based on your entire culture, based on running contests. I mean, there's so much that goes into this. So anyway, congratulations on focusing on all the right stuff right now, Jake.
Yeah, thanks.
And I'm excited to see you as we watch your business grow. I'm excited to see you grow. Hopefully you'll get to 700-800 in 2023. What is your actual goal for 2023?
It's 750 transactions, and I don't remember the exact volume. Our average price point, I think, is around 4.25 right now, but be more profitable. And I think part of that is some of the restructuring we're doing, and just kind of controlling, the book side of things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what would be the last, what would be the one piece of advice that you'd want to give to all of our listeners before we close out here?
Well, I would say, for people, the team leaders, the teams, the brokerage owners, and I think really it's you have to, I think where the biggest success that we've had with our team as a whole is just genuinely pouring into people, pouring into the agents, and genuinely wanting their life to be better in every way, that you have control over, and just focusing on that. And then be sure to focus on those, there's obviously when you have a lot of agents, you have people that check out, they don't show up. And that can bring a team leader down on why aren't they showing up to the trainings? Why aren't they doing this? We've got to shift our focus to focus on the people that are, and really focus. I'm reading a book called the Pumpkin Plan, and it talks a little bit about this kind of stuff where it's like you need to stay focused on what you can control and not what you can't, and staying positive and moving forward. But I think a lot of it comes down to consistency. And try, not only the team leaders have to be consistent, but that's, you lead by example and show the agents what consistency will do for them.
Yeah, I think it's great advice when your people know you care about them. Yeah. It makes all the difference. So another piece of advice you just gave without even knowing it is read books and invest in yourself today, because it's more important than ever that you are growing as a leader, so that you can then lead your people to that growth also. So
I think I've probably spent 10 hours a week learning and trying to get better as a person and business. And I share a lot of that with our team members. And that's one of our tracking activities on our Sisu is what have you learned? What have you, done to help yourself over the last
week? I love that. That's a good one. I love that. All right. Well, Jake, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want to?
You can look me up on social media. Just, type in my name. RockwellRealEstate.com is our website. But feel free to reach out. We meet with lots of agents that just want to mastermind or collaborate or pick our brain on how we do things. We're an open book. We share everything, whether you want to know how we do our onboarding, training, run our team meetings, do our annual, our client or team events. We'll share anything. So people are more than, feel free to reach out to us, and we can jump on a calendar and chat.
Okay. All right, Jake. Again, thanks for joining us on the show today. To all of our listeners, thank you for listening. That is how I was fortunate enough to get Jake on here today, as he actually happened to listen to one of our podcasts and reached out. So if you guys want to be on the podcast, if you want to share it with others, just let me know. Thank you for listening, and have an amazing holiday season, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on our podcast. If you have an interest in a free 7-day trial of Sisu, go to sisu.co, sisu.co. Make sure that you use the coupon code GRIT, that's GRIT, to waive all your setup fees and receive a 10% discount on your subscription. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and want to subscribe, search GRIT, the Real Estate Growth Mindset, on iTunes, Spotify, or Podbean. And with that, we'll catch you next time. Take care.